The house Harriet, Dottie, Zoo, and the other gingerbread girls slept and worked in was cinnamon-coloured and had a sugar-dusted effect to its roof and windowsills. The girls were too gaunt to be the legitimate inhabitants of a house like that, so Cleo met with nutritionists, came up with a potion that guaranteed vigour, and had the girls eat 7 meals a day. 7 bowls of vitamin and mineral-enriched gruel that couldn't really be differentiated from hog feed. The gruel ensured that the girls came across as the epitome of plump-cheeked country childhood in photos and in the documentaries and TV adverts. Their eyes and teeth sparkled, their skin was smooth, and their pigtails were extra bushy. The gruel that took care of all this had a stomach-turning odour of rotten eggs and roasted rubber. There was envy toward Dottie, who supped her gruel with a tranquility of sorts. Her sense of smell hadn't yet returned. Did that eerie brat do me a favour? I think she did. You had to finish the whole bowl. There was water to wash it down, and the mixture was so claggy you had to have a lot of that. If you rebelled, a matron came and brought you a new letter from some member of your family who was either bursting with loving pride in their miraculous breadwinner or anxiously awaiting your next pay packet, or both. About 3 weeks in, Harriet and a few of the others twigged that Cleo had a forger in her employ, and the letters were faked. Harriet stopped writing home. The temperate wisdom of the replies she was receiving from Margot rang a lot of alarm bells for her, even though the handwriting was an impeccable match. She could only assume that Margot was receiving reassuring missives from Harriet, too. A lot of the girls didn't mind this. They found this mother Cleo Kercheval had assigned to them was much better at cheering them on than their actual mothers were. The fake mother took more pride in them. So none of the gingerbread girls were forced to do anything. Not forced, no, nobody could say that. It was more that there were frauds they helped perpetrate against themselves, hoaxes they somewhat willingly became beholden to. If being manipulated like that did your head in too much, you could run away like Gretel did. But unlike Gretel, you wouldn't be welcomed back. Bearing this in mind, the gingerbread girls stayed on and were sorted into different teams each weekend. Team 1 was on in the afternoons, hosting tea parties on the 3rd floor. Tasks: pouring tea, handing round gingerbread, giggling a lot, and conveying country sayings they'd memorized from a book. The book was almost certainly a parody, but Cleo lost her temper when asked about it. Things said with a pure heart are pure. There was a warren of kitchens on the 2nd floor, and in the evenings, Team 1 donned daisy patterned hairnets and piped pink icing onto gingerbread figurines. They leaned so close to the gingerbread that this was where they'd have been in danger of depleting stock if it hadn't been for the perennial nausea induced by all the gruel they ate. Zoo became an Art Nouveau icing artist, blending her yearning for the forbidden into every embellishment. Gingerbread compasses were her speciality. Team 2 played Pass the Parcel, Please Mother May I, or What's the Time, Mr. Wolf, in the garden with other kids who were biding their time until their parents took them home. Team 2 always found it impossible to convince the visiting kids that they weren't robots. Team 3 spent the afternoons concocting gingerbread lore in the library on the 4th floor. Gifts of the 4 wise men: gold, frankincense, myrrh, and gingerbread. In the evenings, they hosted breadcrumb balls. They had no problem with the singing and choreographed dancing with Hansel dolls. After weeks of practice, they had those bits down to a T. But the bit where they had to skip around the grown-ups' chairs with their skirts shimmying wasn't easily done without flashing underwear. Some of the grown-ups didn't like that bit either, but a greater number had a good old stare. Might as well, they were allowed. With a look but don't touch rule, everybody knew where they stood. You could ask some of the older girls to jump higher, and most obliged, looking convincingly abashed at their naughtiness. This wasn't done for tips. They didn't receive any. It was done out of determination to give their all to the gingerbread experience. The less idealistic gingerbread girls were free to refuse, but the worst they could say was fudge off, as Cleo had a zero-tolerance policy toward swearing. Another option for breadcrumb ball attendees was taking turns dressing in grey shock-haired wigs and ankle-length black gowns and chasing the girls around, growling, "Give me Hansel, give me Hansel."